Haven't you been told that meetings are necessary? Have you been told to be alert and enthusiastic during meetings, no matter what the content is? Have you been the leader of such a meeting? Learn the secrets of productivity and useful meetings today on Essential Leadership Skills Live.
This is a Touchstone Publishers presentation, your trusted source of leadership knowledge.
Good morning, all, and happy to be with you today. Seem to have hitting a few technical glitches this morning, but we'll get over it for sure. So, welcome to today's quick Essential Leadership Skills Live podcast or meeting. We're going to be talking today about the essentials that you must have in order to have a great meeting. How to have an effective meeting with your team. So a few steps here, and this is kind of meeting 101. For some of you, this is old hat, but I'm going to suggest you stick around for a moment and let's put it all together. So how to have an effective meeting. So first thing we have to understand is that in order for you to have a great meeting, you have to have a good reason to meet in the first place. And that reason is not necessarily the fact that you have a weekly meeting every Tuesday or every Thursday or every Friday. You must have a good reason. If you don't have that good reason, you should really consider not having the meeting. One word of caution here. Having a good meeting is essential, but sometimes people come to rely on that meeting and they have issues they want to float up to the top. So if you have meetings every Thursday and you start canceling more than half of them because you don't have a good topic, your team's not going to respect that. They're going to be concerned about even thinking about coming to the meeting or preparing for the meeting because you've canceled them before. So you want to cancel the meetings that you don't have a good topic for or a good reason to have, but you don't want to get carried away and start canceling them all or canceling half of them because you don't have a good topic. Find great topics and have meetings for that purpose. Okay. Now, key point here. You must have an agenda that clearly states the purpose of the meeting. In other words, we got to tell everybody why we're here. Why? You're going to begin with the end in mind and let people know during the meeting or before the meeting with the agenda why we're having this meeting. Also, your agenda must cover the key steps to satisfying the purposes for the meeting. So we're having this meeting, and here's what we need to cover to satisfy this meeting and why we're having it. That should always be in the agenda. By the way, I will say it again, you must absolutely have an agenda for every meeting. An agenda is required for every meeting that you attend or that you lead, okay? Every meeting. Also in that agenda, you must have a time frame. You got to state a time frame that you're going to start the meeting and begin the meeting at that time. People get used to the idea that you're starting right on time. They realize being 2 minutes late means I missed 2 minutes and I'm going to be called out for it. Just by everybody looking at me because the meeting started on time. Start and end that meeting on time, and you got to stick to it. It is essential that you as a leader start your meeting on time and stick to it. You want to start your meeting on time to set that example of punctuality. That example bleeds off into your team coming to work on time. If you start the meeting on time, they understand you're going to come to work on time, they're going to come to work on time, and the meeting is going to start on time. But equally as important as that is ending the meeting on time. Ending the meeting on time. So you want to start it and you want to end it and you want that to be published in the agenda so everybody knows we started at this time and we're out of here at this time. With very few exceptions should you ever begin late or stay late. Very few exceptions. Let's talk about this ending time though for a moment. If you have a 1 hour meeting scheduled and you put on there, let's say, for example, from 8 till 9 o'clock is your meeting time, you need to end that meeting at 8:50, 10 minutes prior. You need to make sure that your agenda is over with 10 minutes prior so that everybody can get a chance to have a little bit of a break before they go to that next meeting. It won't be long before the entire company has picked up on this idea. Okay, we're scheduled from 8 to 9, but we're finishing at 8:50. And if the rest of the company doesn't pick up on it, you are a hero. Follow me here. You are a hero because you're giving everybody a chance to go to the bathroom, a chance to go back to the desk, check email for a couple minutes. As long as they're not late for that next meeting is what we're concerned about. Have a start time and an end time, and consider a meeting of 1 hour, ending 10 minutes early. If it's a half hour, end it 5 minutes early. This, by the way, is for team meetings. Okay, for team meetings. This is not for just the run-of-the-mill one-on-one meetings, which are not run-of-the-mill. Okay, so they're not run-of-the-mill. They're one-on-one meetings, and that's different. But your team meetings, consider ending them 10 minutes before the scheduled time, if it's an hour or more. If it's a half hour or so, end it 5 minutes before the time's up. Become that hero. Make your team more productive. In this meeting, you need to require the participants to come prepared to discuss the topics on the agenda. You don't want to just assign one topic to each person to discuss. You want to make sure that everybody's prepared to discuss everything on the agenda. That is the best way that you have to keep people enrolled and involved. You know what happens if Billy is assigned role 1, June is doing number 2, and Sally's doing number 3, and Jim's doing number 4. While Billy's doing role number 1, the other 3 are in their minds practicing what they're going to say. Now, when Billy's done, June starts her at number 2. The other 2 are still practicing what they're going to say, and Billy now is in his mind saying, oh, I could have said that better. Here's the bottom line. Require everybody to be prepared to talk about everything on the agenda. So that means your agenda needs to be to the people in advance of the meeting. It needs to be in the hands of everybody who's coming to that meeting in advance. It can't be something you're handing out the day of. Okay? In most cases, if it's an emergency meeting, that's different. But if I have a meeting coming up and it's due on a Wednesday, everybody has that agenda by Monday. They see what's on it, and they know that they're going to be required to discuss every topic in there, or at least be ready to discuss every topic. That's what we want to have happen. Have them prepared. Have them prepared. Now, in this meeting, why it's so important, by the way, we talked about this, but you want to have this agenda in place that lays out the purpose of the meeting, because that lays out how you want it to end. Begin with the end in mind, from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Why. Okay, that goes here too. People want to know why they're having the meeting. Also, Napoleon Hill talked about this idea of having a chief definite purpose or aim. That all comes into the agenda. Your agenda is the most key part, most critical part of a meeting. I will share this with you as well. Never invite somebody to your meeting who is not a value add proposition. If they're not going to take value from your meeting, or they're not going to give value to your meeting, then don't invite them. Okay? Do not waste other people's time by inviting them to a meeting that they don't get anything from. Okay? Do not waste time inviting people to a meeting that they do not get any value from. So make sure they're a value added proposition. It's very key, very critical. Okay? Make sure that everybody in your team knows what to bring to that meeting. Make sure they know that they are to bring paper and pencil and pad or something of that nature, but also make sure they understand what not to bring to that meeting, and that might be cell phones. Cell phones are one of the biggest cost wasters in a company. People using cell phones for their personal usage. Yeah, if you have using it for business, that's another thing. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people using their cell phone for personal usage. Now, I always got a big kick out of these classes when I used to go live before the pandemic, go into a classroom and people are saying, well, I have to have my phone. It's for business. I understand that. If your phone's for business, it's for business. I get that. But the challenge is when you're using your phone for personal. That's where you're taking money away from the company and maybe forcing them to have to hire someone else so that you will lose your pay raise. Or they hire someone else who's more productive than you, then they have the right to replace you with that. Okay. So make sure you're kind of aware and let everybody know what to bring to the meeting and what not to bring to the meeting. That's another key point that you want to have when it comes down to this having a great meeting, a great agenda, letting people know what they can bring and can't bring to the meeting. Let people know what's expected of them. Lay the rules down. Now, the very last subject here we want to talk about. You as a leader, you should never run any more of your meetings starting today. You do not run any more of your meetings. You should delegate that to somebody on your team. Delegate that maybe to the next person who's the next person up to take your position after you're promoted. They run the meeting. It's your agenda, so it's really still your meeting. But that person you delegate it to, you give them the authority and the responsibility to run that meeting, to make sure everything stays on time, make sure notes are taken, make sure that everything works. You're just there while they run the meeting, but you give them the authority and the responsibility to run that meeting, which means if they say to you, hey, Glenn, we only have 5 minutes for that, you're at minute 6, you just simply say, okay, fine, let's move on. You don't get to question that person who's running the meeting. They're running the meeting. You give it to them so they can get better at running the meetings. You still create the agenda, though. Okay? You still create the agenda that's to be followed. So the topics that are to be covered are still yours. It's still your meeting, but someone else is running that meeting. Delegate that responsibility to somebody else. Start building your team through delegation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolutely great day. I really have enjoyed speaking with you today. I hope we get a chance to do this again sometime real soon. I want to thank you for taking the time. We are here on Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m.